Hey guys, this is Chris from Deus Ex Machina. I'm back again to do another commentary video, and we're going to go through my reviews from 2018 on the Dice Tower, which, like I said, at the time of this posting is still online. Hopefully they'll stay there. 2018 was the year that had the greatest, I think, growth as a style. It was also, I think, the first year where I started to replace my table, although we didn't get the really big table until 2019. And yeah, so let's go take a look. 2018 was the year I started doing skits, and I don't do them that much, and I don't do them anymore. I stopped doing them in 2019 because they were really technically complex, and sometimes the jokes really fell flat. This was a bit of a time jump because now we kind of shoved up into May of 2018. I don't know where this footage is from. I think this is just a photo. This is actually the electrical room from Staples. I was working at Staples, and that's a Staples shirt I'm wearing. I took my name tag off. A friend of mine, Adrian, who's a co-worker, he's recording me. And then there's the mustache. I was playing with the mustache for a while. A lot of people like the mustache. My fiance did not like the mustache, but she tolerated it. My mother absolutely hates the mustache. The reason why I got rid of it is you can kind of see it here on the one side. One side of it keeps on wanting to go this way, and one of them wants to go up. And it became very difficult to get them to go up in the same curl, and I wanted the curl. So eventually I actually started pressing them and going out straight. I didn't like that style. I preferred the curl. This is the best I think you'll ever see that mustache. From that point on, I started to really dislike it, and I took it off because I don't want to have it for the wedding, because I'm getting married in about 2.5 months. So this is also the first time that the Dice Tower edited me. So you see where that cut was, where it says please stand by, and I say seriously, and it cuts away. I say seriously, what the F? And I cut myself off just at the word F. They cut that out. They didn't even allow me to imply a curse. Funny thing is, I don't even say the curse. I don't say the curse in the recording. I just say, and I just cut myself off, and I edited it to cut. I never actually say the curse. But this is also the first time where I started to really dive into another game to explain another one. I really wanted First Martians to be a description video, to really show people how the game is played, because most reviews didn't do that. You had Rodney, who had a very long video. I wanted to take Rodney's inspiration and explain it. That's another cut, by the way. I actually say F this, and I bleep myself. And they cut that out as well, because I bleep myself, and they didn't allow me to keep the bleep either. So this is the first time I got heavily edited. They didn't tell me afterward. They didn't say, by the way, you have to stop doing that. They just cut it out without asking me. And that's their prerogative, it's their channel. But that was the first time that, the second time that I was actually edited. I was censored. But that was the first time. That was the first kind of indication that my style was abrasive to the rest of the Dice Tower. A lot of positive views. Did I get any negatives on that one? People always have problems how long the videos are, and this one's 17 minutes, so now we're pushing to that length, and I don't know when I start getting into the 20-minute mark, but it happens. This was the one where I started to really play with comedic cutaways. I did this a lot. This is the first one where I felt I really started to have fun. You know, the Minions cutaway, some of the robot cutaways. I love the Robinson Crusoe and Mars one. I thought that was really funny. Like, I really enjoyed my own writing on it. That kind of frees up my own abilities, but I did actually like the way this one came out. This is the first time I had the table with the new mat. So that's an image from Amethyst on the base. We don't have the bookshelf yet, so this is just simply a table. I stacked a bunch of games on it. And then later on, we would actually get a backdrop and an actual shelf, and we would put games up on that one. But until then, we were just piling games behind. Okay, so we're on to Alien Uprising, and this is the first time where I think my upwards trend in quality fell back down. This was back me doing, instead of reviews that were popular for games that were already reviewed, I went back to reviewing a game that didn't get any reviews, which is Alien Uprising. It had a preview on Dice Tower, but never an actual review. You can see the table behind it. We still don't have the bookshelf yet. But this one, it's weak, and not a lot of people didn't get a lot of views. I mean, it just crossed 2,000, so it's not the lowest one. I would actually get lower views on later videos, which is the reason why I stopped doing the obscure videos that no one has reviewed. Alien Uprising, I really tried to like it. It's not a bad game. It's very much a Castle Panic game, but it just its production quality is so inconsistent. It's got so many stupid random elements, and yeah, I did do a Lost Boys joke in it, which I don't know why I kept it in there. It's not very funny. Although one person caught the reference, it's not very funny, and I should have cut it out. And I think Alien Uprising was not a terribly good review. I also had a problem with my camera, so I was always cutting the top of my head off, and it wasn't because I'm a Chrome Dome. I just would position the camera the best I can because I would always record this with no one in the room. I'd always get rubbery lips whenever Nicole was in the room. So I usually do them myself, so I really had to guess where the camera was at. So very often I'm cutting the top of my head off, and that wasn't intentional. I did a lot more in face in this video. Proportionally, I would do less and less until you wouldn't see me at all in some of the later videos because I can't memorize it. So this is pre-scripted as well, and so I had to write everything. So the camera, there's actually a piece of paper hanging just right to the camera. And then once again, we're getting longer. Now we're at 21 minutes. So this was the first video I did that ran over 20 minutes. I didn't get any comments about that length at that point because I think people are okay with a 20-minute view. But once again, this one didn't get a lot of views in the first place. My next one will be Terraforming Mars. And I didn't get super long until the Thing review, which was the same year. And we did have a couple of people say, why is this video so long? But that one got so many positive views. I was like, you know what? My niche audience, I'm gonna make these videos for them. We're on to Terraforming Mars. This one I probably had too much fun with. This one had a lot of jokes. The shelf in the back isn't done. I love this opening joke. I did it another time later on, but I love the joke of just ending the review early. Thanks so much for watching I stole a Dice Tower clip and put it on there. I don't know why. I love this little clip. I just don't know why it's funny to me. I think it's funny. Like the only negative comment I got was somebody that was disagreeing with me on my economics, saying that please just talk about the gameplay. It's a game. I want to know if it's any good, not how it's going to affect my worldview philosophy. There's like 45 reviews for this game, including on the Dice Tower. So you watch my videos because you want something different. So once again, I'm not writing the videos for those people. And there was some guy correcting me on my science, say Mars can hold on to an atmosphere perfectly well. That's wrong. It cannot. Give it an atmosphere, and it would be 10,000 years before we lost it. So you might as well do it. And I'm like, you know what? If you give Mars an atmosphere, if you had the technology to give Mars an atmosphere, you wouldn't bother. You would just simply go to a nearby star system that had a breathable atmosphere, and you would just go there. Because people are like, oh my god, it's going to take you decades to get there. It's like, it's going to take thousands of years to colonize Mars to an atmosphere. Those games and those TV shows and movies that talk about colonizing Mars in a matter of decades, that's impossible. Venus is your better option because you have a planet where you can take away an atmosphere. It has gravity. The only problem is it doesn't have, it has a fixed, it's tidal locked, which Mars is kind of tidal locked as well, and that is a really dangerous thing because the atmosphere can burn off because you have one side that's almost always facing the sun. The other comment I had here was, I find it unfortunate your anti-capitalist viewpoints. I find it unfortunate your anti-capitalist viewpoints unfortunate. That's how he said it. I find it, which are also rampant in the scientific community that will likely have little part in any future colonization effort. That's the stupidest thing I think I've actually read. He literally says that the scientific community will have a little part in the future colonization effort. That's literally their job. You can't colonize Mars without the scientific community. That's literally one of the dumbest things I've heard anyone say. It's a great comment about the... I was surprised to see the designers claim that the Mars Trilogy books from Kim Stanley Robinson was a major inspiration for the game, but that none of the political commentary featured in those books made into the game. In fact, Robinson was pretty much against full-out capitalism featured in the game. I wonder if one could mod the game to include the Bogdanovist gift economies. That's actually a great thing, and I think the fact that there's half a dozen different expansions to Terraforming Mars, and none of them are cooperative. All of them are about building a better corporation or corporations fighting for other resources. They have never had a game, an expansion for Terraforming Mars, where there was full cooperation. But yeah, this was another 22-minute video. And once again, I think I keep her on that link for a while. So there's a cutaway with Nicole there. And that's basically how I try to include her, a little bits and pieces there. Obviously, she speaks fluent French, so that's why she can do it. But it's always difficult to get her to do a skit, and there's a blooper at the end of the video, which I quite enjoy. You notice in that clip there's a table right in front of the TV. That's because she's about to do that big Carcassonne thing, because the Carcassonne movie's popping later, and she has this. She whips out every Carcassonne game that she has and just does Carcassonne for like 3 days. Honestly, if I was doing this video on my own channel, I'd probably double down on the corporate philosophy and kind of go after the game for that, because once again, being Canadian and basically a progressive left, that's basically what I believe in. This is the first time also I did a false joke. I did the whole ending credits for the Dice Tower, and I did a Ferris Bueller. Of course, it's a reference to Ferris Bueller, but it's also a reference to the first Deadpool, which itself was mocking Ferris Bueller. This is not my bedroom. This is my mother's bedroom, and that is her robe. Because I don't have a robe. You would think I would have a purple robe, considering I write amethyst, but this is her robe, which is the reason why it's so friggin' short on me. The Deadpool comment, the Deadpool joke at the end, I literally had to find a Deadpool mask, and I actually had a friend that went as Deadpool for Halloween, so I literally borrowed his Deadpool costume just for the mask for that one single shot. That's all I did it for, and I don't know why I did it. It was just a funny little skit. So I was on a bit of a high by the time we got to Vikings Raid and Conquer. Now, I received this game for free from the company. This is the first time I ever received a free title. I got it from High Roller Games, and they're a local company. They publish out of Kelowna. Role Player, which is my review, which is also has comparisons to Azul and Sagrada. The echo effect was stupidly, I didn't put a filter to get the echo. I'm obviously recording it off of my phone, and my phone records audio, and then the Blue Mic records audio. So to create the echo, I simply didn't synchronize them. I have one a microsecond after, and that creates this false echo. And once again, I'm getting negative comments or people saying, let's get more review, and I was like, okay. Eventually I just stopped with the skits, but my videos would still get longer. You can really see, you can see the mustache, you see it. You notice how the left-hand side, which is the right, is curving forward towards you, and the other one's curving up. I can never get that fixed. Yeah, that was one thing. I would never get, like I said, I could never post a link to my own channel or to the fact that I was a game publisher. So I always found ways to throw in little references to Amethyst, and shockingly enough, those were never edited out. I was never told, don't pump your own products. Okay, so Grimslingers. This is an interesting one. So Grimslingers was shot at Barkerville, and the whole point of me doing Grimslingers was it was a strange obsession I had with the game, and I felt I wanted to do a review. And since we were going to Barkerville, because this was shot on Canada Day, so it was July 1st when I shot it. It went up on July 10th, so it was a pretty fast turnaround on that one. So I shot it. We were, this is great. It's friggin' snowing a little bit. It was cold because Barkerville is a higher altitude than even where I am in Prince George, and it was snowing in July. That's nuts. I will never live in an area where it snows in July. Anyway, and it was cold. We were camping, and it was freezing. It was getting down to about 1 or 2, maybe 3 degrees above 0 Celsius, which I don't know, was like 30 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe 25 degrees Fahrenheit. I have no idea how the Fahrenheit scale works. But anyway, we were camping, and so we were bundled up heavily, covered in our faces, and we were freezing. And then it was raining. Nicole got a metal splinter in her hand from it was almost a nightmare. I was in extremely positive spirits because I hate camping. My fiance, will be my wife in a few months, loves camping, so I was trying to be in positive spirits for her without me going, I told you so. But yeah, so this was all shot in Barkerville. I planned ahead of time, so I took the costume. Also, I like dressing up for Barkerville, even though you don't really have to, and I was very anachronistic. The issue is that I didn't pre-script like I did with Viticulture and a few others, and it really shows because I was shooting a bunch of things off and on, and a lot of the footage I shot didn't make it. because it didn't work out. I wasn't really, I guess there was so many parts where I was shooting completely out of order. I was shooting because we were there for 3 days, so I was shooting off and around the day before and the day after, and it was not a lot of footage actually made it through. I recorded maybe 3 or 4 times more footage than I actually used. Then I picked up a lot of pickup shots. The place where we're camping, you have to walk past the grave. So that's the reason why I got shots of the grave just now. And this is the honest to God truth. I had shot a gameplay video at the campsite, and I didn't use any of that footage. I recorded a good half an hour of that, didn't record any of that. What we're seeing here, once again, looks like I'm shooting it at Parkerville. I'm not. I'm shooting it on my own patio back home. I didn't like the footage I was using, and I didn't have enough footage to show the gameplay. So I scripted everything I needed to script, and I recorded it. And then I went to my patio and laid out the cards on my patio floor, which looks like wood planks, which gives you the impression I'm shooting it at Barkerville still, and I'm not. It's a complete lie. Not only that, I'm not even recording it outside or at Barkerville. I literally recorded it off my phone instead of using my mic to keep the consistency of the audio. And to fool you even more, there's an artificial background audio track of birds and wind and trees and all that. That's all entirely fake. I leave that in afterwards so I can keep the consistency and create the illusion that I shot all this at Barkerville. Like this footage right here with me on, that is one of the few times I shot with my fiance. Most of the time I was shooting by myself with the handheld. And like I said, this was shot 2 days later, just before we were leaving, because I was trying to pick up shots because none of the footage was what I was doing was working because I wasn't pre-scripting it. Because I wasn't pre-scripting it, wasn't working out. I shot at Canada Day, so that's why you see there's a lot of people around. There's a parade. They're blowing up anvils because this was all shot in Canada Day, and Barkerville goes all out on Canada Day. So this dude here is James Douglas. He still has that role. He's also a film director and a film producer and a film writer. He does. I was a co-producer on a film that he did not long after this called The Doctor's Case, which is based off a Stephen King short story, and recorded around Barkerville. And at the time of this recording, he's directing something that I wrote called Ariel Alpha, which is starring Rebecca Scott. That's going into production in 3 weeks from the recording of this video. So by the time you probably watch this, it might be recorded. We might have shot it already. So oddly enough, our relationship has continued since then. But and then we'll eventually see another dude who is J.P. Winslow. J.P. Winslow played Sherlock Holmes in The Doctor's Case. I love J.P. I think he's an amazing. I think they're both amazing actors. But JP, I think, did a bang-up job as Sherlock Holmes. If you get a chance to see The Doctor's Case, do so. So a month later, after Grimslingers, I tackled the complete Carcassonne. This is the one that kind of blew up for me. It's not viral by any stretch of the imagination. It's 30,000 hits, but it's still by far the most views I've ever gotten from any of my videos. The most number of comments, the most number of upvotes. It was fantastic. I had planned after this to do a bunch of other complete variations. I don't have a lot of games where I owe everything. Castle Panic was on the docket. We didn't have some of the variations. We had Star Trek Panic, but we did have all the expansions for core Castle Panic. So that was something I was planning on doing, but I never got around to it, and I probably won't now. It'll depend kind of about how things are working. But this opening, by the way, very few people have actually nailed where this is from. I think the audio has gotten flagged, so it kind of gives it away. But the opening, the music is from a kind of alternative film called Baraka. And it's an experimental film because there's no dialogue, it's just music and 70 millimeter footage of Earth. They made another one called Samsara a few years ago, which is also really good. I would say superior in many ways. Baraka is a fantastic film. Michael Stearns, I think, does the music. So that piece of music is from Baraka. The footage is actually based off of the footage that was played during that musical piece in the movie, which is this slow pan over a field of military jets. So I'm trying to imitate the exact camera angle and movement. So it opens up wide and then eventually it pans down. And I even cut it at the same point. So, but nobody has caught that. Nobody has caught that I was referencing a very obscure artistic documentary. But a lot of people love the opening. It was epic. We screwed up though because I was trying to get it so it would fill up the whole frame, not realizing that I should have recorded further away and then used the zoom to make sure it was in there, because I am losing about 4 inches off of each side when I do the zoom. So yeah, I could have done that a lot better. And we're not even using all of the expansions, because once she fills up the whole table, that was it. But she had another 2 boxes she could have put out there. And the next time she played that game, she played it on the floor and used everything. And it got huge, but we weren't recording it by then. This is the first video where I did a lot of cutting, like a lot of fast cuts, which made this one, oddly enough, it wasn't as much of a nightmare as other ones. Because I obviously had all the titles. It took me 2 days to shoot. And yeah, the positive comments were really, really fantastic. And yeah, there was obviously a lot of people that were commenting like, you didn't cover this game, you didn't cover this game, you didn't cover this game. And my response to that is, I would have taken 6 hours if you wanted me to record everyone. I was more a representation of how Carcassonne works. This was also the one where I became very, very consciously aware of the shadow my camera was making. So I was trying to create the angles in such a way that you saw it as little as possible. This is also a point where, and this is what's hilarious, where I sneak in a curse bleep, where I say a bleeping dragon. Obviously, once again, I actually don't say the word, so I just don't say the word, and I insert the bleep in there. And I'm really amazed in now retrospect that wasn't cut out. For these standalone games, I did this thing where I do these quick cuts. This is obviously a slight homage to Requiem for a Dream when they're doing these quick hyper zoom quick cuts. And in order to accomplish that, obviously I recorded really quick cuts, but I also jacked the audio up to amplify the ambient sound effects, and it still wasn't very loud. No, I cranked it all the way up to max. I was trying to get it so the snapping of the tiles would sound really, really loud, but I couldn't get it loud enough. So after this, we tackle Above and Below and Near and Far. My fiance loves Near and Far, and we had borrowed Above and Below from a friend. Okay, so this opening, I was still doing skits. This was probably the most obvious skit I've done. There's my car, my Lancer Evolution. You should know what this is playing homage to. It's playing homage to the very famous lamp IKEA commercial, punctuated by my accent. Okay, I'm really angry about this. Notice how after the skit is over, it fades into me giving my pitch. That's not how the original video was done. I walk off, cuts to black for about 2 seconds, then it cuts to me doing the review. For some reason, the Dice Tower cut that and made it dissolve. And I don't know why. There's no curse, there's nothing. I don't know why they did that. That was the one time where they put in a cut where I simply couldn't understand why they put that in there. Because it kind of screws with the joke. Because it fades, the punchline of the joke is lost. It's also one of the last times I did a full-on skit. But it was also one of my favorites, actually. It's a very, very funny one, I think. This is another video where I slammed into the censors. Once again, I said this is a damn good game compared to Subterra, where I said, holy hell, did I back all this? And somebody came after me for saying hell. And then once again, somebody says, I don't understand you insist on using profanity. Now, once again, damn is such a mild profanity. Only a religious person, a devout religious person, is going to care about the word damn. Okay, so the lighting on this video is a little unusual because I'm trying to get rid of the shadow, and I would get access to some actual theater, like movie grade lights later. But during the recording here, my fiance has these sunlights which project like really bright light in multiple UV range or what have you. So I'm using those lights to try to create a much brighter scene. It'll help with the light coming into the camera, and it helps wash out the shadows that are over top. The problem is that it's far too bright. I can't control the lighting. There's only one switch, on or off. So this was the only time I did it. It didn't work because it's too bright. And it created these weird, massive like shadows because there's this massive light coming off of one side. So this was the only time I did it. Later on, I would actually get actual film lights. And I think it was with Pandorum way later on. And that ended up looking pretty good. So this is my thing versus Who Goes There. This is something I wanted to do for a while because I had very strong feelings of Who Goes There. I did back the campaign. I found the end result extremely disappointing. And looking at the other games that Certifiable has done, I really dislike the way they handle their mechanics. So this review of these games has a warning on it because if it was on my channel, I wouldn't have done this warning. I did it for the Dice Tower because I was going to deal with mature subject matter, and I wanted to get those religious nuts out of the video. No comments. No negative comments from the Dice Tower regarding the content. So it was okay showing the video, the footage from the thing. And I don't know if it was because of the warning or not, but I don't think so because I didn't have a warning on the Nemesis review, and that still got let through. This was also the first video where I had this heavy introduction talking about the history of the genre. I was almost 100% certain, given how many people were complaining about previous reviews, having such a front end with a massive intro, that people would scream bloody murder about this one. And I was really shocked when they didn't. I think this is when I galvanized my reviewing style, and it helped feed me to do that big Nemesis review, which so many people love so much. It's my favorite video. The Thing is probably my second-ish favorite video. Only one negative comment, which is someone, of course, having a problem with a 40-minute video. And of course, my response is, I weep at your attention span. Stellar production, this review was amazing. This was the first time I got massive positive comments. And since I didn't get paid from Dice Tower, this was the first time I was really appreciative. And I went on a big wine trip. It was a wine tour with a bunch of other industry insiders and so forth. And it was a couple days. It was wonderful, all-inclusive, mostly all-inclusive. And it was fantastic with me and my fiance. But we were on a bus for sometimes 4 or 5 hours. And on the last day, it was like 12 hours coming all the way back. So I wrote this entire script, which is really shocking. I wrote, well, most of the entire script entirely on this ride back. And then when I got back, I grabbed the rules and I did the rules and I finished it up and I did the video very, very quickly. I was certain that there were going to be problems with the Dice Tower, but there wasn't. It got posted. It did very, very well. Obviously, it starts off with a history of the franchise because I had a lot of passion of the franchise. I have no real interest in this in a game based on this franchise anymore because of what I consider the unrelenting flaw of the way the games work. You have to have a betrayer in the thing. Well, of course you would. That's the whole basis of the game. Why wouldn't you not? And as it turns out, I'm not a huge fan of betrayer mechanics. So in retrospect, I backed Who Goes There because of the fact I love the movie The Thing, without realizing that I hate betrayer mechanics, as it turns out. I don't care for them. There's also a lot of stupid jokes in this as well. The Wilford Brimley one. It took me a long time to find that clip. I love it. I think it's hilarious. There's a point where you see the logo forming while you're hearing Blair talk. The reason why I put that there is because that dialogue, originally in the film, is focusing on this grotesque beast. And despite the content, I figured the Dice Tower would be like, no, come on, we're not going to show you gore, so don't do that. So I literally cut that part out and put a shot of the logo forming instead to cut that piece of gore out. So there's a point where I make this joke about the Thing infection at Outpost 31, and I say it over and over, and I get really tired, so I call it Bob. I will admit, I'm ripping that joke off. That's another Yahtzee poll. Yahtzee did this thing. I think it was Super Mario Brothers Wii U, and he was saying Super Mario Brothers Wii U. I don't know if it was Super Mario Brothers Wii U. He was like, that's taking way too long to say. I'm just gonna call it Steve from now on. So he just called it Steve for the rest of the video, and it was one of the funniest things out there. So I totally ripped him off. So we're on to Cauldron Master. Now this was There was only one time in the entire time I was with the Dice Tower where they ever sent me product. I did get a few free games from companies. That would happen in 2019. But at this point in time, I wasn't getting any free product from companies. And instead, there was one time and one time only, the Dice Tower sent out games out to their outside circle rather than have it all internally. Someone told me they were doing this every year, but they stopped completely after this year. They paid for everything, which is fantastic. So I just got a box of games. We all got to put our names next to titles we wanted. Depending on how enthusiastic you were, you would get that. But then you might get a whole bunch of other games as well. So that's how I got Apocrypha. I got Apocrypha from them. And I got Planet of the Apes, which is weird because they were kind of hoping, expecting me to review all these. And I thought getting Planet of the Apes was really weird because why would I get Planet of the Apes? 2 people had already done reviews on the Dice Tower for Planet of the Apes. So I never did a review for Planet of the Apes. I did get Cauldron Master. I got Apocrypha. I got Alchemistry, which is another title we'll see pop up here in a little bit. The games I didn't do it because the games were so small, they were just not worth my time. 2, they were titles that the Dice Tower had already reviewed numerous times, and I didn't want to just do it and just throw my hat in the ring in that regard. This was also the first time I got my fiance in the video. And we would do this at least 2 or 3 more times. And she would grow increasingly less enthusiastic into doing it. She never saw the negative comments, thankfully. And Cauldron Master still has the positive and negative title of being my lowest viewed video, which is another reason why I didn't like doing obscure games, and also being the only video in which I received no downvotes. And the reason why I didn't receive any downvotes was because very few people watched it. It's only like 1,100 views by this point. I would do this for Alchemistry, Dread Draw, and D Space D6. And after those 2, there's so many freaking haters on there, and I really didn't want to put my fiance through it, and she didn't like me on camera, so I just stopped. But I have extremely low opinion of people that were attacking my chemistry with my friggin' wife. This is also a video where I would record the video footage first, then I would write the script after. I did that only a couple times because it allowed me to do kind of a binging with Babish thing where I was commenting on my own video. And I did that with D Space D6, and it worked out really well as well. Which brings us to Stuffed, which is another game I backed from Certifiable, and it was up until the re-release of The Thing, the last title I backed, because I would not back anything of theirs, and I still won't back anything of theirs, because they still haven't shown, I think, a maturity of game design. I have a cute little thing in the video. I have a comment about a pug, which is ironic because one of my closest friends has a pug, and it's absolutely adorable, and I still don't have a sync scat. I'm running through these quickly. Okay, so we are on to Skyway Robbery, opening up with a humorous joke because, yeah, Skyway Robbery is quite literally the heaviest game for its size. It is, like I said, £5 for a game that's about the same size as Steampunk Rally. It is an astoundingly heavy game. We played the game twice. It's a simultaneous action selection game like Mission Red Planet, but once again, it's better. But Nicole didn't care for it as much, so unfortunately, it is officially going out of our collection. It's in our remove pile, which is too bad. It didn't cost us very much. And this was also another one of the last few times where I did an obscure game that had been out for some time. I was kind of hoping this one would do better. At 1,700 views, it's one of my lowest viewed videos. And also got, once again, I think the second fewest downvote. Only 3 downvotes to 39 upvotes, but once again, it's because not a lot of people have seen it. Only has 2 comments. So only 2 people ever commented on the video. So it did not get a lot of views. I had a huge rant that was going on for about 5 minutes about my issues with the steampunk genre as a name. I have a problem with it because a lot of people had been rebranding Victorian science fiction as steampunk. And it's like, oh, what about retro in the 40s? That's steampunk. And then 50s, that's steampunk. And then when they realized they couldn't do it because Victorian sci-fi is steampunk, they would then create new punks, biopunk, diesel punk, atomic punk, and I was just like, I hate every one of you people. I like the retro sci-fi theme. I love Sky Captain, but I cannot stand the number of people that just go steampunk, 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 steampunk. And now it's dieselpunk, dieselpunk. I love Art Deco sci-fi, which is what Sky Captain is, but now they're calling it atomic punk. I'm like, no, it's not atomic punk. It's Art Deco. What about the H.G. Wells Time Machine? That's not steampunk. That's Victorian science fiction. Stop rebranding other titles to make it what it is. People were doing it with Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk got coined in the mid-'80s. They started retroactively pulling all these titles from the past, like Blade Runner, like these old titles, and say, that's Cyberpunk. I kind of accepted that, but to go back 100 years and rebrand that, that's stupid. Okay, now we're on to one of my personal favorite videos, which is Apocrypha, which was posted on November. I was on a bow tie thing. I don't do bow ties that much anymore. I think my mustache is getting increasingly more difficult to try to control. It's going down like this. Like I said, I'm happy I got rid of it now because it couldn't do what I wanted to do. And I also am wearing my hat and wearing my glasses. This is kind of the peak of me looking like a 1940s hobo. Yes, I fully admit when I did this video, at the time of posting, I couldn't find the supplements. And they hadn't yet delivered, but there was a bit of delay when the video went online. So by the time that video went up, they did announce they were shipping the expansions, the Flesh and the Devil, so it was a bit, I should have just waited a little bit and it would have been fine. And oddly enough, I feel almost an apologist for this company because they went and they sent me all the supplements and afterward for free. I've never paid for anything relating to Apocrypha, so I feel opinionated, but I do legitimately love this game. I absolutely adore it, and I do find it better than most of the other top games out there. This is in my top 10, easily. This clip coming up, I do a little bit of homage to The Continental, which is a very famous Saturday Night Live skit with Christopher Walken, where the POV is a person. And so Nicole is grabbing my mic stand and walking away with it. That was our third take because she would never be able to pick it up in time. She was supposed to grab it and then run quickly, and she would do it very slowly. So I was getting a little frustrated. This one I think is also one of the funnier ones I think I've done. A lot of in-jokes. It's past 5,000 views, so it got slow and then it started to really build up. A lot of positive views. Once again, long video, 32 minutes. And oddly enough, the long videos seem to generate this much positive attention, except for one title, which we'll get into. I don't think I got any negative comments on this one at all, which is very unusual. Now we're on to Alchemistry. Now this is, once again, another title that was sent to me from the Dice Tower. I would not normally have acquired this game. Nicole likes it. I really don't like it. I think it's way too random. This is one of those situations where my ADHD was definitely being an issue. And then once again, after the situation with Dave, I stopped doing it because my ADHD has a tendency of interrupting people, especially if I'm very excited, and I usually am when I'm recording a video. So, and the other issue, and this is something where a lot of people don't understand, like Nicole, she doesn't like speaking up. She doesn't like volunteering things. If she's in a group, unless you get a couple of drinks in her, she's usually the quietest person in the room. So when people are like complaining that I'm not giving her time to speak, I'm trying to get her to speak. This is literally all that she's trying and willing to volunteer. It was hard enough just to get her in front of the camera in the first place. If we kept with that format, where it was her and me talking about a game and then do a cutaway learning the game and then back to comments for us and then keeping it under 15 minutes, I would probably be still at Dice Tower because I think that's the format that they like. But it's not what happened. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this game.